Now, as you all know, I do love taking on Sun Media and what it tries to pass off as news. Now, one of my favorite people to go after is Laurie Goldstein, being that he is the associate editor of the Toronto Sun. Now, in the May 9th edition of the paper, he seems to do a lot of complaining about capitalism, and without knowing it, its actual very nature. So let us take a look through his article and see what we can do with it. It's getting hard to defend capitalism these days. Well, this is not a good start for me because this was tremendously honest. It's hard because of the appalling lack of criminal charges against the corporate kleptomaniacs of Wall Street who brought down the global economy in 2008 through massive fraud. So basically what he's telling us here is that he's mad that because capitalists, the people who control a capitalist system, have been able to distort it to not have to accept the consequences of their actions. They were even bailed out with public money while continuing to receive their bonuses. Now, what's funny here is that he's complaining about people acting greedy in a system that promotes greed. Instead of having their executives face prison, Wall Street banks instrumental in the 2008 crash have agreed to or are negotiating no-contest civil fines and settlements with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in which they do not even have to admit wrongdoing. The SEC's claim that these fines are significant is absurd. The SEC settlements come out of corporate profits, not out of pockets of executives. Boyer and Schweizer suggest several reasons for the lack of prosecutions. They note Wall Street was a major financial contributor to Obama's presidential campaign. That the people Obama has appointed to consider whether these should be prosecutions used to work for the law firms that defend Wall Street from such charges. I agree, this is ridiculous. But capitalists are using the capitalist system to protect themselves. Duh, this actually would not have been any different under the Republicans. In fairness, it's doubtful things would have been any different had John McCain and the Republicans won in 2008. I'm surprised by this. This is a surprising amount of honesty from a journalist from The Sun. Although, interesting that while this is true, he is acknowledging that it is not the fault of the leader, as it wouldn't have mattered who the leader was. And yet through this, he's unable still to make the connection that it is a problem inherent within the system itself. Contrary to the talking points of American right-wing talk show hosts, the 2008 crash was not caused by government overregulation, but by deregulation, lax enforcement, corporate fraud, and political corruption. Fiscal conservatives need to start telling it like it is, instead of obsessing over bylaw infractions by the Occupy movement, while ignoring the massive fraud perpetrated by Wall Street, which caused the financial chaos and human suffering on a global scale. We're supposed to defend capitalism, not crony capitalism. Now, this may seem like an attempt at self-criticism, but I assure you, this is actually faux self-criticism. This is their attempt to make it look like they have free discussion within the system that they have. This is faux criticism, because at no point are they actually acknowledging that these things did not happen because of certain aspects. This happened because this is inherent within the system. It is the system itself that causes these things. This is their not real capitalism moment. This is capitalist apologetics. This is essentially taking the crimes of capitalism and trying to pretend this is an abstraction within capitalism and not an inherent contradiction within the system itself. Now, unfortunately, the people who read The Sun weren't really smart enough to understand that this is what he was trying to say. Fiscal conservatives need to start telling it like it is instead of obsessing over bylaw infractions of the Occupy movement while ignoring the massive fraud perpetrated by Wall Street which caused financial chaos and human suffering on a global scale. So why don't you turn a blind eye at all the civil disobedience, breaking the law? Because someone else committed fraud? This is your argument? If I hit my brother because he took my toy, would I not be in trouble too? It doesn't justify the action. Can you see how these people think and what they're really about and what it is that they do? Protesting. Civil disobedience actually is legal. That's why they call it civil disobedience. Is worse than the people who crashed the entire economic system for the entire world and kicked off the problem the entire world is facing. Do you see this? hatred is more focused against anyone who protests against what happened than actually what happened. This is the mentality of Sun readers. This is the inherent fascist ideology of these people and the people who follow this line. Speaking out against what happened is more criminal and more important than what was actually done that was criminal. This is very sad. This is a totalitarian strain that is being strung through this country. Such an abhorrence to anyone who would dare even question the criminality of the rich elite. This is very typical Sun media. Lori Goldstein, you're making all the criticisms of capitalism that any reasonable person would, but at no point are you actually acknowledging that these bad things that happen are not an abstraction. They're not just something that just happened because somebody was doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. This is capitalism. Greed, doing whatever it takes to get to the top, fraud, doing whatever it is to make money. That is capitalism. That's the dog-eat-dog world you believe in. That is a system where other people don't matter, and it's about making money. That is capitalism. I'm beginning to think that maybe you just don't have a clue what capitalism is.